come ha iniziato a lavorare con un maestro del cinema americano come Roger Corman.
Well, because I love filmmaking so much, and have actually managed to survive as a filmmaker these years, it's the only thing I know how to do. It's how I've earned my living thus far. Meeting Roger Corman was just one of those once-in-a-lifetime encounters because I was a publicity writer working for United Artists in New York, and Roger Corman was going to make a film for United Artists called Von Richthofen and Brown. And
Il Barone Rosso.
Exactly. I showed up to be interviewed by Roger for the job as what they call a unit publicist. And I was told to bring some of my publicity writing so he could have a sample of how I wrote. So I sat down across the desk from Roger Corman, and I was, of course, I was probably 22 or something like that, but I'd seen every Roger Corman movie. That's quite a lot. It's true, although the films are short. So I find myself sitting across the desk, and I want this publicity job so bad. I'm so excited to be there with Roger Corman. So he reads it in front of me and says, okay, you can have the publicity job, Jonathan. Now, you write pretty good publicity material. Do you think you could write a script? So something inside me made me say yes. And then I wrote the script. I teamed up with a friend of mine who's a great storyteller, Joe Viola, and a director of commercials, and together we wrote a script and gave it to Roger, and I thought, my God, what if Roger Corman produced one of our scripts? Wouldn't that be great? Again, I find myself, this is about 4 months later, I was living in London at the time, and we came to deliver the script to him at the London Hilton Hotel, and he said, let's go in the coffee shop and I'll read your script. So we go and we sit down, and Joe and I are kind of chatting and sipping our coffee as Roger reads the script. And honestly, he puts it down, he said, okay, this is pretty good. Joe, you direct commercials. Jonathan, you're a bright young guy. You could be a producer. Would you guys like to come to Los Angeles next month and make this film? So, Joe, I saw Joe starting to do body language, suggested that he might say something, well, Roger, I'm not so. And I kicked Joe under the table and said, yes, absolutely. Just tell us. So I didn't want to be a producer, but this opportunity was irresistible. It was only after making a few films for Roger and doing some second unit directing of necessity that I fell in love with this thing, because I love film so much, and the idea that, wow, I can do that, I could do that too, was very exciting, and it gave rise. So I did about 3 pictures as a director with Roger before he kind of kicked me out. But I do love giving him cameos. In fact, he was in one of the shots for Manchurian Candidate there, going backstage at the convention.
Ma parliamo adesso di questo lavoro con il quale sei qui al Festival di Roma, che va visto domani. Credo che la cosa più interessante, oltre al fatto che dimostri anche il suo interesse per l'idea che fare cinema significa anche estendere la propria conoscenza, esplorare più possibili forme di linguaggio, di conoscenza, ma si tratta di, a tutti gli effetti, di un pezzo di teatro che tu hai trasportato al cinema. Ed è un pezzo di teatro molto particolare, perché è fatto da un gruppo di attori che ci lavora per mesi e mesi, per tanto tempo, che lo rifinisce all'infinito con un metodo molto particolare.
Years and years.
Che è esattamente il contrario di, per certi versi, quello che ha caratterizzato diciamo, gli ultimi anni della tua attività, invece l'attività dal vivo, il documentario. Allora, credo che saremo tutti molto curiosi di sapere come si passa da una cosa all'altra, quali sono i tuoi interessi e cosa hai incontrato, cosa hai scoperto filmando il teatro.
Thank you. This is the world premiere of Fear of Falling tomorrow night, and I didn't know it at the time when I first started getting involved in making this film, I didn't realize then that it was going to be the most challenging experience that I've ever had as a director, as a filmmaker, and also very much as rewarding as anything I've ever done. It was years in the making. This was a play where Wallace Shawn, the great American actor, the great American playwright, chose to do an adaptation of Henrik Ibsen's The Master Builder. But he also brought this extraordinary twist to the play. He changed something fundamental to the play. And I think it's okay to mention it, in case anyone will see the film. This won't ruin it for you. But in the original Ibsen play, which has been filmed for television a number of times over the years, you meet this very successful architect and his wife, and the young woman and the young man that work with him. They're engaged to each other. The older architect who is the victim of the main architect's surge to power. And they're there and existing, and there's a struggle going on within the master builder because he feels the young people nipping at his heels. And apparently, by the way, in researching this, it seems like Ibsen wrote this play when Strindberg started becoming very popular. And this was his response to, because he had it all until that time in Norway. So what Wally Shawn did was he chose to begin the play, same characters, same dialogue, except the master builder is on his deathbed. He's going to die momentarily. And what was presented as normal, and always in this play, now takes on this extraordinary added dimension. In the play, a young woman shows up, a young woman named Hilda, and she has a fixation about the master builder. And she is someone who had a moment in his past life that he's not proud of. And her arrival turns everything upside down. In the Wally Shawn version, when Hilda shows up, this signals the death throes of the master builder of Solness. And now the rest of the play, the rest of the Ibsen plays, it turns out what's kind of the fantasy, the redemption fantasy that is flashing before Solness's eyes as he dies. So I got a call from Andre Gregory, who I idolized. I don't know how well Andre's known in Italy. He's a giant of the theater in America. Tremendously avant-garde. He's had tremendous success. He and Wallace Shawn have teamed up a number of times. Most recently this year, they've had two great successes at the Public Theater with two plays that Andre directed from Wally's previous plays, The Designated Mourner and Grasses of a Thousand Colors. So I got a call from Andre Gregory, who I did not know, and also, of course, I think many of us, I hope, have seen My Dinner with Andre. The first time that they did a film together, Wally and Andre. Wally wrote it, and then they did Vanya on 42nd Street, which is a film of a play. So I get the call from Andre Gregory and said, would you come see this play we've been workshopping for 10 years and see if you think it would be worth filming? So I went down and watched it, and it's an extraordinary company of actors. Just great, great actors. Julie Haggerty is in the play. And actually, I think one of the cast is Jeff Beal here, who plays Ragnar. Could you stand up so we see what you look like, so we can see how handsome you are? Okay, good. Thank you. Fabulous actor. This guy's amazing. So what happened to me was I saw it. I loved the play. I didn't understand it all. I was moved by it, and I was turned on by it. I was confused by it, and I wanted to film it with them. And I thought it would be easy because there were all these great performances. It had been rehearsed for 10 years. It had been rehearsed so long that the actress that plays Hilda and I think Jeff had a predecessor too, got too old for their parts and were replaced. And so this was going to be easy, and we decided, well, we can't just film this play here. Let's open it up. The play basically takes place in a house. Let's make a movie out of this play. And what we discovered immediately on day one was that these great performances in the workshop live on the stage were not right for cinema, if we're going to be doing it as cinema. So there was this tremendous collective adjustment that the whole cast made. And we shot feverishly. We shot for 1 week, because if you're going to make a film of Henrik Ibsen's Master Builder in 2012, you can't spend a lot of money on it, and you have to shoot it fast, and it also has to be great, and it has to look beautiful. So we had a very, very feverish time making this, and it's the boldest film I've ever made. It knows that it's a play, but we turned it into a movie that also celebrates the play. And I talked to Andre Gregory just yesterday before coming to the airport. Andre is exhausted from the last play that he did, and he decided he really shouldn't make this trip this time, and with great regrets. But Andre told me that the film means a great deal to him, and he loves it very much, and he wishes he was in Rome with us. And so it's a very, very special experience that I've had with him, and with Wally Shawn and Jeff and the entire cast.
Siamo molto felici di avere questa anteprima mondiale, veramente, soprattutto dopo che ne ha parlato con tanta passione.
Io volevo